People took profits, repositioned. Now, don't forget, a lot of people have front run this ETF. So they're going to want to unwind. And many of those are going to switch to ETH that I've talked about before. They think, rightly so, that ETH is the most likely candidate for the next ETF. And if Bitcoin went up 100% because of this ETF, ETH will go up 300% because it's less liquid, put the same amount of money in. Also,
hey guys, welcome back to Everyday Finance. In this video, Raoul Pal discuss about Bitcoin. According to Raoul Pal think of this in two ways. The first is for people who invested in Bitcoin in 2011. It was like a Series A investor 2013 cycle, or maybe a Series B cycle, 2015-16 cycle C. The last cycle, cycle D, it was just IPO'd. And when IPOs happen in strong markets like this, it makes Raoul think of the late 1990s. Raoul Pal traded a lot there. Raoul was also at Goldman at the time. What you found was that it would start after the IPO, and it would be very bumpy for a while. Sometimes it would sell off quite strongly. Like when Facebook sold off really quickly, some people cashed in their gains and moved. Keep in mind that many people have already bought this ETF, so they will want to relax. And a lot of those people are going to move to ETH. They think that ETH is the most likely choice for the next ETF. And if this ETF caused Bitcoin to rise 100%, Ethereum will rise 300% because you can put the same amount of money in it and it will change less. And lots of things Raoul Pal discuss. So please watch the video to end. And share this video and subscribe our channel, Everyday Finance. Thanks.
ETF. Hell yeah, that was a bit of justification after fucking 10 years of fighting. But we got there. And, I've explained it before. How I think of this is in two terms. One is anybody who was an investor in Bitcoin in 2011-12 was like a Series A investor. 2013 cycle, maybe Series B. 2015-16, Series C. The last cycle, Series D. We've just IPO'd it. And usually when IPOs happen in strong markets like this, it reminds me a lot of the late 90s. And I was trading a lot then. I was at Goldman as well then. And what you found is after the IPO, it would launch and it would be choppy as hell for a while. Sometimes it would sell off quite sharply. Facebook sold off really sharply as people took profits, repositioned. Now, don't forget, a lot of people have front run this ETF. So they're going to want to unwind. And many of those are going to switch to ETH that I've talked about before. They think, rightly so, that ETH is the most likely candidate for the next ETF. And if Bitcoin went up 100% because of this ETF, ETH will go up 300% because it's less liquid, put the same amount of money in. Also, there's a lot of people unwinding the GBTC arbitrage, closing that position, selling out, moving into a different ETF. There's a lot of shenanigans going on. And you can see that with the net flows. There was 4.5 billion or whatever of total flows. The net flows are much smaller, 700 million or so. It's still the biggest ever ETF launches in history as the series, but it's all to play for. And I want you to understand how this works is, okay, all of the pre-orders have now been filled. That was all of these ETF providers going to all of their clients, begging them, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. Everyone's done that. Sure, there'll be some follow-on next week. A lot of the GBTC guys are unwinding, and that will go, some will wait a few days, see if the market is stronger, whatever. So that goes on for a while. You've then taken forward or brought forward a lot of demand. By the end of it, maybe it's 1 billion, maybe it's 2 billion of demand you'll have brought forward. So then who's the buyer? You've got the people who front ran this who want to sell. So you're going to see volatility. And I've always reminded you guys in the do not fuck it up mantra, part of that is expect 30, 35% pullbacks. Could be less, but just expect them. And that often happens when you get to this kind of 61.8% Fibonacci level in the first leg of the bull run. It often corrects sharply. People get washed out, leverage is cleared out, and then the real run starts. And the real run is the run to all-time highs and beyond. That usually starts around the halving. So I'm guessing there's maybe a month or two of chop And chop in crypto markets is like down 30%. It's just sideways chop. So just be careful out there. I could be wrong, could keep sailing higher, but it just feels like it's trading a bit heavy. And even if it does as a spurt higher, I don't think it makes much progress yet.
Raoul Pal, thinking about it right now, and made it clear that Solana is my favorite when it comes to the big ones. Raoul Pal, think Bitcoin is always the first step. Ethereum is next in line to do better. This is the point in the cycle when world liquidity goes up, and when there is a lot of money in the world, and a trigger like the ETH, ETF, it starts to pick up speed. We saw that last time. For a few days, it looked like ETH was really trying to do better. Raoul think it hit bottom. On the huge ETH Bodhi wedge, Raoul Pal posted a chart on Twitter, and Raoul think it will keep going up over time. ETHMA will massively does better than Bitcoin for the rest of this cycle. Let's back to the Raoul Pal interview.
But this ETF, it's going to attract people because the markets have been strong. Last year, Bitcoin itself was 160%, right? That doesn't go unnoticed, considering even the NASDAQ managed 50%. So it's like 3x the NASDAQ. But let's start with the RIAs, the investment advisors and the financial advisors. Those guys aren't on Twitter. They have no idea what any of this is going on. All the drama that played out and the false tweet and all of that shit, that total goat rodeo, I don't know any of this. The first they will hear about this is when they pick up Barron's on Saturday morning with a cup of coffee. And they'll go, oh, a Bitcoin ETF. And Barron's will probably have some cynicism in the article, let's assume. And they're like, well, that's interesting, but, I'm not sure it's for my clients. And they go about their business, and then they go and see Jack, their big client, on the golf course that weekend. And Jack says, hey, what do you think of the Bitcoin ETF? And the RIA will repeat what he read in Barron's and what he saw on Fox News. He's based in, let's call it Cincinnati, Ohio. And Jack will ask him, and he'll feel a little bit silly. And then maybe next week, he starts reading a few more articles and a few more positive things come out. Then he starts thinking, maybe I should do something about this. And a couple of other clients ask him. And eventually, he goes and has his steak dinner with his other friend, Mark, who runs the tire franchise in Cincinnati. And Mark's got tons of money and he's a bit racy and likes investments like this. And before you know it, he starts building an order book and getting his clients in. He can see they're interested. He's incentivized by the sales process and the commissions. And before you know it, he's mobilized. It's the same with all the RIAs. This takes time. They're not smiling on, oh my God, there's a Bitcoin ETF out. Let's all go. It doesn't work like that. It's a relationship business built over time. And this is, all across the United States. It's not New York City in a dealing room. It's a very different world out there. So that's why it takes time. It's the same with any of the institutions who might be thinking about it. Some fund manager who thinks I can sneak it into my portfolio now and not tell my risk manager that I've got crypto. I'll just sneak it in as an equity and hope they don't find out. Same with hedge funds. So that's all to come. And that's why there tends to be this gap. So that's how I'm thinking about it right now. Also, my view, and I've made this very clear, is Solana's my favorite horse in the race of the big ones. I think the first phase is always Bitcoin outperforming. Next is Ethereum. It's at this point in the cycle when the global liquidity turns higher. And when global liquidity turns higher and you've got a catalyst like the ETH ETF, it'll start picking steam. We saw that last couple of days. It was like, wow, okay, ETH is really trying to outperform. I think it bottomed on the massive ETH wedge chart that I put on Twitter yesterday. And I think it will continue higher over time. And I think ETH massively outperforms Bitcoin for the rest of this cycle. So that's the kind of flow, is Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, with Solana at the top of the pie.
According to Raoul Pal, idea number one about crypto the other way around, which you may have heard me say, the IPO idea is what people talk about. It's nice in this case. It tells us how these things trade, but this is really a trade deal. It's a trade deal between F-World and Cryptoland, because money is moving, both ways. Moving to Cryptoland is not the same as lifelong residency. These people are not migrants. Remember that GDP growth is population growth plus output. Growth plus debt growth as more people move into crypto. They need new wallets and the ability to store their own crypto privately or on crypto markets. If you learned something from this video, then please like this video and subscribe our channel Everyday Finance, and we will meet in next video. Thanks.